Hey everyone, this is Sasha bringing you a video tutorial today from BP4U, and today we're going to be talking about our tones in Lightroom. So we have some tone tools here, and that is exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. And so we can kind of look up here at our histogram to see what we're lacking. So I can see that I have a little bit of room here to expose my photo. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that. So when I look at my histogram, this, by the way, is your highlights. This is your middle gray or your midtones, and this is your blacks. You want to have a good amount of blacks and whites in your photograph without blowing or clipping anything. So after I go ahead and I have moved my exposure up just a little bit, I'm going to also go ahead and I'm going to darken my blacks. And I will know if I've clipped anything by turning on this, and you can see that over here I have that blue. Let's clip something a lot. You can see how it's growing blue. I'm clipping that just a little bit, and since it's in the rocks, I'm really not actually all that concerned about it. I will pull up on that some, and if I clip my whites, you will see this red form. So I'm going to pull back on my whites, and I want to have a good amount of blacks and whites, but I don't need to completely overdo it. By having a good amount of blacks and whites, it's going to allow me to have a nice deep, rich photo that has some contrast to it, and it isn't flat. So here I can see my before and my after, and I'm just pressing my backslash key. So exposure exposes the photo. It exposes it like it would if you would have done it in camera. The only thing with the exposure is, and the brightness and any of the brightening tools, is that the more that you push them, the more grain and noise that you will get. So it's better to try to have it right in camera, but even the professionals mess up sometimes. So it's really great that this tool is in here because you can really push it very high in Lightroom to really expose a photo up well. So the next tool that we have here is we can go ahead and add some additional contrast, which I'm going to go ahead and do for this photo. You can see how it has really brought those colors out, and now they are popping a lot more. So then we have highlights. So if we had blown highlights in our picture, then we might want to consider using this highlight adjuster to pull back on that. As you see, as I pull back on my highlights, now I can see a lot more detail in the areas of my photo that are my highlights. And so I am going to pull back on those just a little bit, but not too much. Right about there. Now shadows, I can add shadows or I can brighten my shadows. And so I'm actually, for this photo, I like my shadows right where they're at, but you can use that to, if you have a very over contrasted picture, maybe you took it in uneven lighting and you have a lot of sun and you exposed well for the sun, but everything that was in the shade is really dark. You could use the shadows slider to brighten those shadows and to make the lighting look a little bit more even. So the whites we've already done, we can brighten up our whites in a photo, and that just kind of makes the photo look a little bit brighter. You could also darken your whites if they were too bright and you clipped them. And the blacks, as you've seen as well, you can darken your blacks or you can lighten your blacks if you have clipped them by moving this slider. So another option that we have here is we have this auto button, and if I click on that, it automatically goes in and selects some settings for me, and I don't have to use the settings that it gives me. I can go in as well and tweak to make the photo look just how I want it to. And so if I'm not happy with the settings that it has provided for me, maybe I want to brighten my whites just a little bit, just a little bit more, but I'm going to bring down the highlights just a smidge. I think I'll leave my shadows be. but I might go ahead and give just a little bit of black to my picture. My histogram looks pretty okay. It brought my exposure down quite a bit. I might go ahead and pull that up just a little to give my photo a brighter look. Again, pull down my highlights just a smidge to compensate for that. And I think I would be pretty happy with that edit. So that is a very personal preference. Nobody can tell you that there is a right or a wrong way to edit because photography is an art. But there are some general guidelines that you can follow if you're not sure, and this histogram is a great example of that. By trying to pull your histogram out so that you have a nice even distribution of whites and blacks without making them climb up the wall, so to speak. For example, if I were to see a histogram like this, then I would know that my photo was very overexposed before even looking at my photo. Or if I were to see a histogram like this, where you can see this blue spike going up the wall, I would know that I have a lot of clipped blacks, and there may be a chance that my photo is underexposed. And so using your histogram is pretty important, as well as knowing these tools so that you can know how to use the tools and what tools to use. So thank you for watching this video tutorial. Happy editing!